Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the business risk review for February with CreditorWatch. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. It's a great opportunity for us to present some unique data and insights to you today, which we've collated. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Neil Borg. I'm the Enterprise Accounts Director for the business. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in and we will get back to you afterwards. We will also be running a panel towards the end of the webinar, and please make sure you stick around for that for a couple of minutes. So just a bit of a quick introduction for those of you who are new to us today. A little bit about CreditorWatch. We're a leading commercial credit bureau in Australia. We currently have over 50,000 customers, ranging from sole traders and partnerships all the way up to ASIC listed entities. And we offer a full turnkey product suite, which allows businesses to onboard their customers, assess risk and do due diligence, analyze and monitor their businesses. It's all available via a web-based platform as well as API and full automation. A couple of key highlights about CreditorWatch today. So we currently have over 50,000 customers, which is more than any other commercial bureau in Australia. We've sold over 15 million credit reports since our launch in 2010, which is an extreme milestone for us and something we're very proud of. We're 100% Australian owned and operated. We have 90% of our customers that are completely unique to CreditorWatch and don't use another bureau. And we collate over 10 million lines of trade through our integration with Xero and MYOB and our age trial balances, which we receive from our corporate customers on a monthly basis, which gives us a really unique snapshot at trade payment and payment behavior in the current economy. So for those of you who haven't joined us before, what is the business risk review? So our business risk review, or our BRR, is a monthly analysis of aggregated data and trade payment information that we collate. And the aim of this webinar is to provide everyone with a quick summary of some key insights and trends that occur on a monthly basis in Australia. So where does this data come from? We collect this data from dozens of public, government and private data sources, which include but are not limited to ASIC, AFSA, the Australian Business Registry, Australian courts, the Insolvency Notice Register, which is administered by ASIC, debt collectors, and of course our CreditorWatch customers, which are providing us with that unique trade payment data every month and live through our accounting platform integration. So just bear with me. Moving on to the actual data. So looking at payment defaults with CreditorWatch, we can see that compared to January 2021, there was a 6% decrease between January and February. And if we look at the annual snapshots from February 2020 to February 2021, there was a 54.8 decrease with payment defaults. Now, just to talk a little bit about this, the falling payment default times are most likely reflecting that some sectors are obviously benefiting from the economic recovery. I also personally think that many businesses are probably still benefiting from the government stimulus at the moment, which is coming to an end at the end of March, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. So looking at the best performing industries, we can see that the mining sector, according to our data, current days overdue in February 2021 is 13, and there's no change from last year 2020, which is quite encouraging, but obviously paying the invoices 5 days later since January. The retail sector, Again, very encouraging there, 15 days overdue in February 2021, and paying the invoices 31.8% faster compared to February 2020, and no change since January 2021. And looking at the third best performing industry, public administration and safety. So days overdue in February 2021, 15. Changes versus February 2020, there was no change, and changes versus January 2021, paying 1 day later. Looking at the most affected industries according to CreditorWatch data, so you can see over here, administrative and support services clearly suffering, 70 days overdue in February 2021 on average, and the change versus February 2020 is a 70.1 increase, and three-day payment increase since January 2021. Now, look, I personally think this sector has really suffered. You know, offices have obviously remained empty throughout the pandemic. I think the sector is, however, starting to show signs that it is normalizing. Many workers are starting to return to their offices. I personally work in the city, and I have noticed that lately, specifically the past month, it is getting a lot busier, particularly you know, getting on the train in the morning and coming into work. There's definitely a lot more people around, and I think we'll start to see that flow through into this particular industry. Healthcare and social assistance, so days overdue February 2021 was 67, and definitely the worst performing industry according to our data. There's a huge 294% change from February 2020, and changes versus January 2021, paying the invoices on average 1 day later. I think if we look at this industry a little bit as well on an annual basis, by far the worst performing sector when it comes to payment times. And I think this can be attributed to the challenging conditions that the industry has faced during COVID. I think, you know, the whole health sector has remained focused on the pandemic, and obviously to the detriment of the health system as a whole. And then looking at transport, postal and warehousing, days overdue February 2021 were 51 on average. Changes versus February 2020, 27.5%, and changes versus January 2021, 4 days overdue on average. So looking at payment times month on month, I think the trend here seems to be that most industries are paying the invoices slightly slower compared to January overall. I think some industries to keep an eye on, as we can see according to the data, are mining, information, media and telecommunications, agriculture, forestry and fishing, financial and insurance services. Moving on to our payment times year on year. So I think it's a bit more of a mixed bag over here, but overall most industries indicate that payment times are also increasing. I think some key standouts here, as you can all probably see, are administrative and support services, healthcare and social assistance, transport, postal and warehousing, construction, professional, scientific and technical services, retail and real estate services, wholesale trade, arts and recreational services, financial and insurance services. So I mean, we can clearly see that the payment times have all blown out if we look at the data year on year. I think looking at a couple of specific industries, you know, wholesale trade industry has really been impacted by the global supply chain disruptions as a result of COVID and the pandemic. I think construction as well, despite the fact that the residential sector is buoyant, and is being held up by government incentives, the commercial sector is still really dragging the whole industry down as a whole. And I think looking at, some more positive insights, it's a great overall result for accommodation and food services, with both the monthly and annual figures indicating payment times are decreasing. I think this trend should continue as travelers are forced to remain at home, and this certainly helps support the domestic tourism market. Looking at court data, so state by state, we can see, looking at it overall, we can see there was a decrease in court data in February 2020, 51.8% for New South Wales, 33.6% for Queensland, 63.2% for Victoria, and a 23.4% decrease for WA. I did have a chat to our economist a little bit earlier, and there obviously were a lot of court closures, during COVID, and the feeling is that a lot of the courts are still slightly backlogged. So we might see an increase in court actions in the next quarter, and certainly the feeling is by June this year, they will start to increase substantially. Looking at external administrations month on month, so 408 external administrations in February 2021 compared to last month we had 254, and that is a 60% increase. So I think looking at this, the gut feeling has always been that as the government stimulus is going to come to an end at the end of this month, a lot of businesses are going to start to wind up. I had a chat to a couple of my colleagues yesterday as well, and I think what came out of the conversation were a couple of things. I think there are businesses out there that just can't survive with or without JobKeeper, and are obviously deciding to call it a day. But I also think that as the stimulus is coming to an end at the end of March, if you look at how business operates, a lot of them do have to give 4 months notice to permanent employees and pay them out. And a lot of businesses probably want to do that and stay in the government stimulus this month while they can pay employees their notice period and then wind up the business. Again, just looking at external administrations, state by state, some actual figures. We had 8 in ACT, 160 in New South Wales, 54 in Queensland, 16 in South Australia, 9 in Tasmania, 138 in Victoria, and 23 in WA. And again, 60% increase from February compared to January. And year on year, we still see a 50.4 decrease. I think the feeling out there is, obviously, if we look at external administrations throughout the whole of the pandemic, there has been a decrease. And I think the feeling is that, we will start seeing these numbers return to normal, which is a sign that, I think the commercial climate is slowly returning back to more normal conditions. We can probably also expect the rubber to really hit the road with trade payments data in March with the CreditorWatch business risk review. I think payment times will certainly continue to increase across most industries, and again, with the government stimulus the end of the government stimulus fast approaching, there is every chance that the number of court actions, insolvencies, and payment defaults will rise substantially. So yeah, that's it. I think if there are any questions, we will get back to you afterwards. And I'm just going to run a quick poll now. If anyone would like to be contacted by us specifically to talk about any of our services or data, or just have a general chat about today's insights, please feel free to select yes, and someone will reach out to you shortly. Thank you all for your time today, and it was great to present the data and insights to you, and thank you for joining us.